Hi, this is Kristen Nicholson, Career Prep Facilitator for South Central Michigan Works. This presentation is on professionalism and work ethic. You never get a second chance to make a good first impression. People form impressions based on your looks, your appearance, hygiene, as well as actions. And these can be nonverbal messages as well as verbal. These things say a lot about you to a potential employer. The success of any personal encounter begins with the second someone lays eyes on you, often long before either of you speaks. Physical appearance can determine a positive or negative first impression. You want that to be a positive one. Even when you're going in to fill out applications, you want to make sure that you are dressed appropriately, that you're using formal register, using complete sentences, standard English, and that you are putting your best foot forward. Based on these type of things, either your appearance or your hygiene or your verbals, you may or may not get an application for that employment. Messy hair, bad breath, bad body odor usually will make a poor impression. Talking about dress and hygiene seems basic, but basics equal success at work. Employees who dress neatly and appropriately are often perceived in a positive way. The implication is that you care for your job in the same manner that you care for yourself. General dress guidelines: please do not wear pajamas in public, especially if you are job searching. You never want to go into a place of employment looking like you just rolled out of bed. That could be your SpongeBob SquarePants pajamas, that could be your fluffy slippers, that could be just sweatpants and a t-shirt and a hoodie. You want to go in, even job searching, prepared for an interview. You should never be embarrassed if your employer or a coworker runs into you. Clothes do not have to be expensive, but they do need to be clean, no rips, holes, stains, tears. They need to be modest. You don't want anything too revealing. You don't want to be too casual. If you're too casual, that you may be lazy, and you don't want that perception of you. When you are employed, it is important to make sure you ask your supervisor about the dress code. Ask them what is appropriate and what's not appropriate. Inappropriate dress, usually for the workplace, will be halter tops, shorts, especially short shorts, maybe stretch pants or leggings, jeans, shirts without collars, sandals. Again, you want to ask your supervisor at your work site and see what is allowable. A lot of places do have a certain dress code. General dress guidelines: it has to be neat, clean, no stains or stains. Women and men on the PowerPoint that you see right now, these are good ideas for interview outfits. Use conservative colors, blues, blacks, browns, of that nature. And you want to make sure that your clothes are presentable. Uniforms may be required for your particular job, so there are some questions on the screen that you may want to ask. Safety clothing is another possibility that you might have to wear at your work destination. So you want to usually avoid loose or dangling clothing. You want to keep yourself safe if you're working with any type of moving equipment. Steel-toed shoes may be required to wear to protect your feet. You may be required to wear jeans. Safety glasses to protect your eyes from debris. Ear protectors if you're working with loud machinery or in a loud environment. Hard hats, obviously, if you're working with anything that could fall. Masks, especially if you're working with any chemicals or fumes that you could inhale. Gloves to protect your hands. And then protective clothing. Usually if you have protective clothing that is a requirement for you, the employer will issue that to you and go over how to use that. On this screen, there are a couple examples of what individuals should wear and what type of work setting they are in. So if you could just look this over, think about this is where this person is working, what would be appropriate for this person to wear at that job. And then think, why did you select these certain items? We're going to spend a little time on personal grooming. You want to make sure you take care of these needs before you job search, definitely before you interview and going to work. It is not pleasant to work with someone with a body odor or bad breath. So you want to make sure you bathe, shower, use deodorant, brush your teeth. Choose conservative hairstyles. Cultural hairstyles may cause problems for you in the workplace. Cornrows, dreadlocks, braids, twists, or styles that are more free and expressive may be unwelcome in the workplace. This may not be fair, but it is reality. You want to discuss this with your supervisor. Long hair worn loose can be a safety problem for certain jobs. It's also a hygienic problem in jobs such as food preparation and serving. They may be required to wear a hairnet or wear your hair up or with a hat. If you are going to wear any type of cologne or perfume, make sure it's put on moderately. Men, you want to shave or wear a neatly trimmed mustache or beard. Women, you want to apply mild and natural makeup. Trim and clean nails. Minimal on the jewelry. Women, if you have bracelets or anything like that, you only want one or two. Minimal on the earrings as well as the rings. When we talk about piercing, you want to make sure you're pierced sparingly. It is common for women and even men to have both ears pierced. However, if you are a man with a pierced ear, it is a good idea to remove it for the interview and again ask the policy on piercings on the job. Other piercings such as lip, eyebrows, nose, anywhere else that people have been more expressive with getting pierced, those are less accepted. Body piercing can hinder you in some professions and considered reasonable in others. Exceptions might be made if piercings represent cultural or religious beliefs. Again, for an interview, I would remove them and ask the company the policy on piercings. Body art, piercings, and tattoos are becoming more of the norm. However, there are managers that still frown upon tattoos, especially ones that they can find offensive. Wearing clothing to cover the tattoos usually solves the problem in most cases. So again, I would make sure your tattoos are covered upon going in for an interview, and again, ask the employer their policy on if tattoos can be shown. In the past, you have seen people having to wear long sleeves to cover up ones on their arms or possibly a Band-Aid, something to that effect. Companies can limit employees' personal expression on the job as long as they don't impinge on their civil liberties. EEOC employers are allowed to impose dress codes and appearance policies as long as they don't discriminate or hinder a person's race, color, religion, age, national origin, or gender. The law does require healthcare organizations and food preparation facilities to enforce certain sanitary practices. Hairnets are required for food service and or preparation. Washing hands after using the restroom with hot soapy water protects from disease or spreading of germs. In health occupations, each time they work with a patient. Gloves, these are used to control exposure to germs in food prep and health occupations. Aprons are used to prevent germs, objects from your clothes getting into food. You want to make sure you become familiar with hygiene practices required for your job. Some special considerations to think about regarding appearance that need to be addressed as well. Physical condition. This applies to everyone. The more that you exercise and maintain good physical condition improves your stamina and allows you to work harder and longer. Payoff may be rewarded with higher pay or promotion because of your productivity. Weight. Overweight individuals often encounter negative reactions from others. This is discriminatory, but many think overweight is less attractive. Some perceive as lazy. You can improve your appearance with diet and exercise. You may want to consult a doctor before starting any weight loss program, and wear clothes that fit well and look good on you. With acne, you can consult a dermatologist. Diet may improve your skin, and some medication might help. If you have a problem with your appearance, do your best to look as good as you can. No one can do more than their best. The most important thing is a positive self-image and a good mental attitude. The first part of professionalism is personal grooming and hygiene. The second is mannerisms and habits. Mannerisms and habits can have as a powerful influence on people as personal appearance. What I want you to do is observe people around you and determine what mannerisms they exhibit that turn you off or make you stop listening, or you're more focused on this mannerism or habit that they're doing than of what the words they are saying. Then look at yourself for any of those behaviors. Ask your friends and family to observe you and tell you what little things that you do that may turn them off or annoy them. Some common problems: people that use tobacco products, Many organizations have banned smoking on the job or is restricted to certain areas outside of the buildings. Smoking, chewing tobacco often creates a negative image. Wearing earphones can create safety hazards and reduce communication while on the job. It could be interpreted by the supervisor that you are disinterested in your job. Chewing gum, it is hard to speak clearly with gum in the mouth. You run the risk of looking like a cow chewing its cud. So leave your gum at home, especially again in an interview. Using slang or profanity. Many will think that you are ignorant or uneducated if you use slang. Use commonly understood vocabulary. Profanity is viewed harshly, appearing ignorant but rude and foul-mouthed as well. Another habit is picking or pulling. This is usually unconsciously developed, picking at certain parts of the body, ears, nose, hair, chin, fingers, etc. People will tend to start talking and then every other word is, you know what I'm saying? Da 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 da, you know what I'm saying? Some people roll their eyes, not thinking about it. And if you were talking to me and I'm constantly rolling my eyes, that could lead you to assume that I'm not interested, I'm blowing you off, etc. So watch people, see what they do, what turns you off. Ask others around you to tell you what turns them off when talking to you, and be open for constructive criticism. Don't get defensive when you ask them to identify something and then they tell you and you react instead of taking what they have to say and listening. Professionalism summed up, proper dress and good hygiene are crucial for your success on the job. First, they affect your appearance, and your appearance has an effect on others, whether it be your supervisors, coworkers, or customers. And this is either going to be a good or a bad. Second, they are important to your health and safety. How you dress, how you take care of yourself, and how you use your mannerisms tells others a lot about you. Make sure what you are conveying to others about yourself is positive. What others see on the outside lets them know how you feel about yourself on the inside. Image is the tip of the iceberg. It gives people an impression of what's going on inside. The next part we're going to talk about is work ethic. Organizations cannot operate without dependable and reliable workers. They rely on employees to come to work and to come on time every day. Companies lose close to $30 billion a year because of absenteeism. It is cited as the employer's biggest complaint about workers. What does dependable and reliable mean? It means to be trusted to do what is expected with accurate and correct results. Completes tasks promised to do. The quality is important. Generally, the more reliable, dependable you are, that could lead to promotions or raises or even repeat business. Look at this scenario above. George supervises the morning shift at a fast food restaurant. The phone rings at 6 a.m. George, this is Lee. My car won't start, so I won't be at work today. The breakfast crowd has started to arrive in the dining room, and several cars are lined up at the drive-thru window. What problems did Lee create by not coming to work? I hope that you said it created problems for his coworkers, his supervisors, and his customers. How does Lee's absence affect his coworkers? It's going to be putting more stress and strain on them. They're going to have to be picking up the slack from having that one less worker there. How many times do you think George, the boss, will allow Lee to be absent from work before taking some kind of action? Depending on how often this happens or what kind of employer you have, it may be one time and you're out. It may be 3 strikes and you're out. Again, you want to know their policy on calling in, etc. And just a thought, just because someone's car won't start, does that necessarily mean that you cannot be at work the whole entire day? You may have to utilize some other transportation option to be able to get to work. Absenteeism causes many problems. First one is for your employer. It's going to reduce productivity. It's going to cost money. The fewer the workers means company produces fewer goods or can't serve as many customers, or the amount remains the same but the quality is going to suffer. You can also have customer dissatisfaction. They feel that they're not served as they should be. The worker in a production job is absent. A customer shipment may not be sent on time because there isn't enough help. It also causes problem with your supervisor. They may have to rearrange work schedule and plans. Another worker might have to fill in. Supervisors or coworkers may have to pick up the slack, which could make them upset, again, depending on the reason and the frequency of the absence. Your coworkers, person with a day off, could get called into work. They just finished a shift. They could be asked to stay, and it usually creates some kind of anger. For you yourself, you may receive dock pay. The organization's policy about days off affect how much a paycheck is reduced. Repeat incidences could result in termination. Good customer service is needed to be competitive in today's business world. Again, this is hard for businesses to do if they cannot provide dependable and reliable workers. Look over this list. What reasons caused you to be absent, late, or both from work? What can you do to reduce the number of days you are absent from work? Your lifestyle directly affects your work and your work habits as well. Lifestyles are habits and activities that you develop for day-to-day living. Ways to shape your life to increase success at work. Try to get a good night's sleep, 6 to 8 hours. It is hard when you have little ones, we understand this, but trying to make sure you're getting a correct amount of sleep. Eating well-balanced meals, exercising regularly, smoke-free, limit alcohol, drug-free, keep good company, and socializing properly with coworkers. Lifestyle can affect the amount of stress that you endure daily. Many reasons people miss work are directly related to their lifestyle. Eating well will lead you to be less likely to be ill and hopefully not miss work. And so eating lots of fruits and vegetables and limiting your alcohol and junk food. If you use alcohol on the job or before, this can be cause for immediate dismissal. Take this quiz. If you have 8 or more checked, you have a positive lifestyle that is effective on the job. 6 to 7 moderate lifestyle will help you on the job. And if you have 5 or less checked off, you have a vulnerable lifestyle that may create some problems on the job. Good planning helps avoid missing work. You are responsible for getting to work, not your employer's fault that your car won't start. Here are some tips to help you ensure reliable transportation. Maintain it regularly. Check with enough time before work so you can make other arrangements if it is not working. Know the public transportation system. Keep a schedule. Arrange to share rides with a coworker that lives near you. You may want to carpool, so check with others to see if you can share rides together. You may need to walk or ride a bike to get to work. In a cab, this would be your last option because this is going to be pretty costly. But if an emergency situation, you may want to utilize that service. Also want to arrange for reliable care for your dependents. Your dependents may be your children, elderly parent, disabled spouse. You want to make sure you have a good daycare center or an aide or a good program that they're in. You always want to have a backup plan as well. What happens if bad weather and your daycare center is closed for the day? What if your dependent is ill? You always want to plan ahead for substitute dependent care. With aides, you want to make sure you ask for references from people who have employed the person. If you're checking out centers, again, you want references, a policy for closing. Or programs, hospitals or specialized care centers take care of sick dependents while you are at work. It may cost you more than normal child care, but less costly than unpaid day off or losing your job. You also want to have a backup plan, maybe a friend, relative willing to care for your dependent in case of an emergency. You want to have at least 2 people that would be willing to do this. You want to make sure you utilize a calendar. Write down your work schedule, personal appointments. Schedule personal appointments around your work schedule. When planning days off, you want to make sure you get that approved with a day or 2 notice. Again, you want to ask your supervisor the policy and how they would like you to handle that. Vacations usually need to be planned several weeks ahead. Planning for success. When you can't get to work, call your employer. You need to call them as soon as you know you can't get to work. Employers will understand if you miss work once in a while. I would ask how many days is reasonable to be absent from work each year. You may encounter some discipline action, either a verbal to immediate discharge for frequent or unexcused absences that occur the day before or after a holiday, or failure to call in or report an unexpected absence. You want to make sure when you call, you immediately identify yourself and state why you can't come to work. Explain the reason you can't be at work, and make sure you don't want to lie. The last thing you want to say is you threw your back out and someone sees you golfing. If it is going to be more than 1 day, tell how long you expect to be away and express willingness to make up any hours that you miss. Look at this slide. There are good and bad reasons for being absent from work. Which from the following list justifies an absence? You want to make sure you always tell the truth when you report to your supervisor. A lie could be discovered and cause embarrassment or disciplinary action. It also breaks the trust with your supervisor. Getting to work on time. You want to make sure you're planning ahead to be on time. Late workers cause the same problems as absent workers. Use a reliable alarm clock. Have a backup in case the power goes off. Cell phones usually have an alarm clock on them as well, so set them. Do not rely on others to wake you up. Make sure you're getting up early enough so you have time for breakfast, get yourself and your children ready, or any independence. With transportation, make sure your vehicle's starting. You want to arrive usually 10 to 15 minutes early to work. This shows eagerness to be there and ready to work for the day. Plan for special conditions, whether it be poor weather, construction, going out of your route for normal drop-off of your children at daycare. If you are going to be 5 minutes or later, make sure you call your supervisor and let them know what's going on. Apologize and express willingness to make up that time by staying over or taking a shorter lunch. Please read this next scenario and think of how you would answer the questions. Why did Mike react this way? How could Buster have avoided this problem? Please read the next scenario about Vanessa and answer the questions. What do you think her supervisor will say? And what should Vanessa do to keep her job and avoid this situation in the future? Work ethic summed up: reliable and dependable workers are essential. Good attendance and punctuality usually leads to raises, bonuses, and or promotions. It takes a lot of planning and self-discipline to being a dependable and valuable worker. You have now completed watching the presentation. On your job search logs, in the results section, please put the name of the presentation and give yourself a half hour. Once you completed presentations, you will need to go into the Service Center, asked to take the Employability Skills quiz. You will take the corresponding quiz that lines up with the presentation that you have just viewed. Once you've completed all 10 presentations and taken the corresponding quizzes, and also did the in-person information technology class, you will have earned your Employability Skills endorsement. Remember, this is an endorsement to your Work Keys test, so you will want to make sure that you complete all 3 actual Work Keys tests to get your whole National Career Readiness Certificate. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about these presentations or your hours, please see your career manager. Thank you.